Hey guys, AmateurChess here, and as it's my first video, I thought I'd try and explain what I want to get out of the channel. So my uploads are mainly going to be game analysis. There's going to be some famous games, some my own, and if any of you guys do want your games analysed, then please do send me the scorecard and I'll try to help you out. I am in no sense a great chess player, and I don't have years of experience playing the game, as in I've played it on and off for about 6 years. But I do hope that these videos will help me out and help other people in their gameplay. I'll also post the odd video explaining basic chess moves and some openings that I have studied. If the channel does get enough publicity, there could be some chess engine giveaways such as Houdini and maybe Ribka, if anyone wants that. And also, seeing as it is my first ever commentary, please can you tell me if the audio stays too loud, too quiet, or if there is let's say, a constant buzz in the background. And if I have any annoying habits, please do let me know, and I could probably sort those out. So let's go on to the game. So this was a game I played online on chess.com a bit ago. It's not a very high rated game, but I thought it was quite an interesting game. I think there was blunders from both sides, and in like a high rated game that would have been capitalised on, and the opponent would have won a long time ago. But anyway, so let's get into the game. So I start off with e4. Well, I'm playing white and my opponent's playing black. So I play e4, follows up with c5. This is Sicilian defence. Knight f3, e6, knight b1, knight b8, and I bring my bishop up, so it's sort of like a Roy Lopez position here. Brings his knight to e7, d4, sort of prompting that release of central tension. So he takes, I take, he takes. We get this sort of position here. He brings the knight to e7 to sort of gain a tempo here, and there's two things which I could have done. I'll go over both of them. The first one, which I could have done, was take, which would have been like an exchange sort of variation, but I'll go over later on. I'll go over why I didn't do this. So let's just see like a follow-up sort of routine from this. As you can see, it's a decent position. I mean, this queen down here is, I really don't like this. This is really hard for me to deal with here. And at this point, if I show you the engine, white's down in, not well. I don't think he's down in material, but according to the engine, he's down 0.16 pawns. So yeah, I think black does have an advantage here, especially when he brings his rook to b8. I think that could be quite strong, unfortunately for me. So yeah. So the next variation I'll go over is the one that I played, and that was d3. Because what I thought it was good at the time, and I'm looking back at this, and it is good. What I wanted him to do, I wanted him to play a6, because you see what this does. After I take now, it's gonna work out pretty well, because if he takes with this pawn here, I can take his queen. His king will have to take, and he can't castle, and I'll bring my rook over. I'll be chasing his king around the board. And if he takes with this pawn here, he leaves this b6 square here, which could be quite good for a knight later on, and I do exploit that actually. So anyway, he takes with his b pawn, c6. I play bishop to f4, just a simple development move, getting my bishop out. He brings his bishop to e7, the sort of same thing. See, now I bring my queen to g3, and this is doing, well, it's doing one thing. It's attacking this g7 square, because when his bishop moved to e7, he was protecting this g7 square. So I'm trying to exploit his exploit the areas of his game which aren't protected. In this case, this is g7, and there's two things which could have happened here. If he'd have played a stupid move like b7, I could have gone ahead, taken. Then he'd have to play f6, or else he'd probably lose even more material. And then I can bring it back, and if you look now, this is going to be a very good position for me endgame wise, because he can't castle kingside, or else, well, there's nothing stopping him, but this g file does look very, very nice. And at the moment he can't castle anyway because he'd be in check, but later on, that g file could look potentially dangerous. And also, if he tries to castle queenside, this sort of, c file, his pawns are scattered about. He's missing his b pawn, so it's not going to be a very good position later on into the game. The variation which what he did now, he castled, which obviously stops the g7, or else he'd just take with his king. I now play h4. I'm setting up an area for this rook to come up here and attack down these semi-open files. Well, this semi-open g file, especially just pointing at the king. I think at this moment in time I've got a much better attack than the opponent. His king's protected all right, but this bishop here, it's the only thing that's, well, when I say his king's protected, his pawns here, they're looking all right, especially if he plays something like g6. His pawns are looking quite strong. His king will have like a flight square. He's got like a battery sort of thing here, but that would be bad to take there. But at the moment his queen isn't really doing much, so he plays d5, like tempting to take something like that. It's just trying to solidify his pawn chain. If you look here, he does now have a very good pawn chain. If he plays that something, he does just have this a6 pawn on its own. And this is it's a 3-2 here, so that could be quite dangerous later on into the game. I now utilise this pin here on this pawn by playing h6, so he can't take now, or else he'd be in check. And obviously it's a threatened mate, because if he does something stupid, I can just come in here and that's it, checkmate, done. And if so that's pretty much all he can play here is f6, and now I take the opportunity to castle queenside. He brings his queen to e8, which I think is personally I think well, the engine thinks it's a bad move. If I show you there, I've now got a 3.13 pawn advantage apparently. The red thing here signifies that it was a blunder, because if you look what it's doing, it's not really protecting anything. It's protecting this pawn here, but I don't know. There's no point there, and it's also trapping it in. There's no spaces where the queen can go now. It can't come out through here. Can't come out through here. The only thing it can really do is come back, or come really anywhere in these squares, which isn't too good, because I mean this queen's going to be trapped now. So I play e5, and this sort of starts off a bit of a not forcing sequence, but he really should take that pawn, because after I take it, there's no longer this pin on the king, so he can take with this pawn. But is that what he does? Yeah, he now does take, but I think this is better to my advantage, because as I stated before, there is this semi-open, well, there is this open g file now, so I can bring my rook in, maybe bring my queen back, and I can force a check pretty much whenever I want to, in a way. So now there are two options. I'll go through what the engine says is the best move here, and apparently I played a big blunder here, and this could have cost me the game if my opponent hadn't have picked up on it. But apparently the best move here to play is knight to e4, and when I went through this game the first time, I saw this and I was really struggling to see what sort of threat it does present. But I mean, obviously the initial threat is forking the king and the queen, which would win the queen. So to counter this, you'd have to play. Well, well, there are two options which someone would play. A materialistic person would take, but this would just lead to, well, this would lead to very bad things. Because once I bring my rook over, he's going to try and threaten the queen. Can throw in a quick check there. He's going to have to bring his queen over. I mean, well, the engine says that the best thing for him to do here is to sacrifice his queen. That's like the sort of position he's getting into here. Once I take, I can pretty much just start mopping up pawns. I mean, it's going to be a queen and rook versus two rooks and a bishop ending, which it's not certain, but I mean, my pawns look a lot stronger. I think my king's a lot safer. My queen's a lot more active. This rook here is pretty much defending this bishop. Bishop's, you know, he's got a lot of pieces tied down, which helps me in a way. So this could be like an example, continuation sort of thing. And here, I mean, if he takes that, I've got the check winning a piece somewhere. I thought I looked. So let's go back to the knight move. According to the computer, the best thing to do is to play f5 here. Yeah. And the best thing for me to do is to bring my rook over so I can force the check whenever I want. This pawn move here is actually quite strong, because that does stop me from putting in this check here, and it is protected, so I can't take the queen, for example. So the best thing to do now is to force him to take with the rook, as that if he didn't take, I'd take the queen. So he takes with the rook, I think. Yeah. Queen, and just to say, this isn't the continuation that the game went with. This is a possible continuation. So once the queen comes across, the queen could come to e5. Sort of. See, whilst this isn't too bad, I mean, I've got a rook on the 7th. I've got my queen on d6, a nice sort of central square towards his side, which is always useful. I mean, at the moment my g2 pawn is hanging, but it's not really, because the queen can't take, or else I'd take the bishop. I can later on, I could possibly play something like b8, sort of forcing him to take, coming here, get a check maybe. That's the sort of line I was thinking of playing. So now let's go back to the game. The move that I actually played was rook h3 in this position, and if I show you the engine, that is a blunder. My pawn advantage is now gone down to 0.38, and that red thing there does signify a blunder. So let's have a look why. So after he plays f6, throwing the check, this is sort of the same as the knight continuation in a way. The one where he takes, apart from here, he can sort of attack, and he brings his queen to h5, which is sort of attacking this knight if the knight was ever to attacking this rook if the knight was ever to move and it had another defender maybe to attack the rook. The king could be in trouble. This h4 pawn is hanging, there's nothing protecting it at the moment, and I now play queen to e5, which is sort of which is attacking this rook, which, and if he doesn't protect it, the rook's going to fall. It's going to be check. I'm pretty sure that's checkmate actually. Yeah. He plays bishop d7 to protect this. Well, it indirectly protected it, because if I was to take now, this rook, which was initially stopped by the bishop, can come across and help. So now I play knight c4, knight c3 to a4, and what this does, this sort of opens up this this square which I was talking about earlier. With the bishop being in this position and the rook being in this position, it allows me to fork them, which if you don't know, is where you have it's basically a double attack on a piece. So there are two variations which could have happened now. I'll go through the best one for him, and this is the significant blunder of the game. The best thing that he could have done was bring his queen back to protect and help. I'll show you a little bit, a continuation of this, and it's sort of, it's not looking, it's looking alright, but I mean, there's nothing really happening, to be honest. It's sort of not a stalemate, but I can't see much happening, and according to computer, I don't have a really big advantage either, so I do like my queen being in this position, like my rook sort of together, but yeah, it's not looking too bad, but not too great either. Now this is the significant blunder of the game which he plays, and he takes on h4. Now what this does, I think he was being rather materialistic here. I'll show you the scores. But I now have a 5-pawn advantage, and that is a huge blunder. What this does, I mean, he's obviously thought, well, I'll take the pawn and I'll attack the knight as well, so he'll have to defend that. But what I can now do, and I do this, I play b6, well, knight to b6, and what this does, it does fork the rook and the bishop. He now brings his queen over, just throwing in a quick check to try and put me off, maybe sort of threatening this pawn here, as I can't defend it. And if he takes this pawn, this knight, this rook's also unprotected, which could be a bad point in the game. Bring my queen over. Then what he does, he plays e5, and there's nothing bad about this move. It doesn't do anything. It sort of reinforces the queen's sort of standing, but it doesn't get much done. It sort of gives more central control in a way. I mean, if you look, he does have central. He has a lot of central control. If you look at my pawns, they're all on the second rank, and his are all on the third and the fourth, and he's also got one on the second rank as well. So he does have central control, and I think he was just trying to establish that. But the next move, knight to d7, is crushing, because he now needs to protect this, and he plays rook to f7 to attack this knight. I can then defend by taking the pawn on c6 with my queen, also attacking this rook here. So we can't take, or else I'd just take the rook here, which I think would be checkmate. I'm pretty sure. So he brings his rook over here now, and to protect this, I play queen takes on d5. Now what this does, it's sort of, if you look now, I've got a huge advantage. I've got 8-pawn advantage. Now what happens here is, he takes, I take with my queen. It looks like a queen sacrifice, but really I'm getting I'm getting a lot out of it. Rook takes. Now here we have a rook, a 2-rook versus queen ending, and usually the 2 rooks will win, but I'm threatening checkmate here. But a queen can be useful in some of these games. So if he played something stupid like queen to a4, trying to attack this rook here, it's check, and then his queen will have to come back to protect that, and it's checkmate. If he tries to take on f2, say just taking the pawn, attacking this, checkmate. Now what the computer says is the best move for him to play in this position is to sacrifice the sacrifice the queen on d4, and what that does, it gives this d pawn, which is a much closer to the 8th rank, where he would queen, he'd get his queen back, and I think that's the best move for him to play. But the move that he does play is queen takes on g3. Now I think it's one of the only moves he could play. I personally like that more than the previous move, because what that does, that gives this dangerous pass pawn here, that it's got no opposition. The rook will have to at some point defend this, but I mean at this point, if I show you, it's a force mate in 25 moves anyway, and I mean a 25 move force mate's going to be annoying because you have to play 25 moves. But if I show you a little continuation, this is what happened in the game. It's basically from now on just like a pawn game. Pawns. Now he's threatening he's threatening to queen actually. So I have to bring my rook over to stop this. He plays a5. I play c7. Threatening to queen as well, threatening mate. He brings his king over to attack my rook, and now I just take. I just take on e2, and at this moment he resigned. So yeah, at this moment in the game he resigned. I'll just show you what a mate could have been. So this sort of queen to g8, forcing him to come to the f file, forcing him to come back to the g file. He can't. This pawn here is stopping him from using either of these two squares, and that is mate. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my first game analysis. I think it was quite an interesting game. I think there were blunders by both sides. I've tried to look at what would have happened if those blunders weren't played, and I think personally that Black could have won this game. I don't think I won this game. I think Black lost it because Black had a lot of good central control. If he'd have spotted that obvious blunder when I played knight to b6, I think he could have won the game personally, because my pawns were all on the starting line and all his pawns were in the centre, so they're good central control. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my first ever game, and I hope to see you all next time.